As a technical expert, you can design the most beautiful, sophisticated systems anyone has ever seen. But I'm willing to bet you've already figured out that the hardest part of the job, it isn't the technology. It's the people. The biggest hurdles we face are almost never technical, they're human. So let me just ask you straight up. Is all that deep technical knowledge you have really enough to guarantee success? The honest answer? It's a hard no. Your real power to get things done, to get that crucial buy-in, and to actually drive change, well, that comes down to a skill that has absolutely nothing to do with code or servers. And that skill is what we call managing up. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. That sounds kind of sleazy, like office politics. But let's just throw that idea out the window. This quote here really hits the nail on the head. This isn't about manipulation, it's about the discipline of creating a genuine partnership with your leaders. So, in this explainer, we're going to lay out a super clear roadmap. First, we'll talk about why people are the real architecture you're building. Then we're going to unpack 4 key leadership types. We'll look at directors and feelers, then judges and analysts. And to wrap it all up, we'll talk about how all of this helps you build an architecture of trust. Okay, first things first. The real architecture is people. This is all about getting good at the art of human intelligence, a soft skill that, let's be honest, no AI is ever going to master. So what is managing up, really? Well, think of it this way. It's the skill of helping your leaders make smarter decisions. And you do that by being really intentional about how you talk to them, when you pull them in, and what information you choose to highlight. You're not just a subordinate, you're an enabler. All right, now we get to the heart of it. We're about to dive into 4 key leadership personas. You can think of them as different blueprints for how people make decisions. And trust me, understanding these patterns is the secret to unlocking communication that actually works. And here they are, all in one place. You've got the director, who is all about results, the feeler, who's focused on people, the judge, who needs to weigh all the options, and the analyst, who basically runs on data. Go ahead and burn this image into your brain, because we're about to break down each one. Let's kick things off with our first pair, directors and feelers. These two couldn't be more different. One is laser-focused on hard results, and the other is all about the human side of the equation. It's a fascinating contrast. So first up, let's meet the director. Oh, you know this person. They're always moving a million miles an hour, their eyes are always on the finish line, and they are just obsessed with getting results. They set a crazy fast pace, and they expect you to keep up. And this right here is the key to how their brain works. Directors have zero patience for getting lost in the weeds. They don't want to hear the long, winding story of how you got there. They want the destination, the conclusion, right at the start. They're looking for clarity, they're looking for confidence, and they want to see progress. So the million-dollar question is, how do you talk to them? This lays it out perfectly. You have to lead with the conclusion. The bottom line, up front. Talk about clear outcomes, project confidence, and show forward momentum. What you absolutely have to avoid is getting bogged down in details, making things sound complicated, or showing any hesitation. Be direct, be clear, be gone. Okay, now let's do a complete 180 and talk about the feeler. This leader is just wired differently. Their entire focus is on people, on relationships, and on the emotional vibe of the whole organization. For a feeler, trust isn't built with pure logic. It's built with empathy. The relationship you have with them is way more important than any report you could ever give them. And they will respond 1,000 times better to a story about how this impacts people than they will to a spreadsheet full of boring old statistics. So your strategy here has to be completely different. You lead with empathy, with connection, tell stories, talk about the real-world impact on real people, focus on building that relationship for the long haul. And whatever you do, avoid cold, impersonal data, and don't ever make the conversation feel like it's just a transaction. All right, let's shift gears to our next pair, the judge and the analyst. With these two, it's all about appealing to their cautious nature and their absolute need for solid evidence. First, let's talk about the judge. This leader is usually pretty reserved, and they operate with a very healthy dose of caution. They're selective, they're deliberate, and they don't make decisions lightly. So what makes a judge tick? Well, they are constantly weighing the risks. They think about every single thing that could go wrong, and they absolutely hate being backed into a corner with just one path forward. what they need, what they respond to, is a set of well-thought-out options. They value a balanced, objective viewpoint more than anything else. So if you want to get through to a judge, you have to present them with a range of options, never just one rigid solution. Show them you've done the homework with a solid risk analysis. And this is crucial. Maintain a balanced perspective. Avoid high-pressure tactics or coming in with a sales pitch that's all sunshine and rainbows. And that brings us to our final persona, the analyst. For this person, data is everything. It's the ultimate source of truth. They are methodical, they are precise, and you earn their trust with one thing and one thing only: facts and evidence. You see, the analyst listens to facts, not feelings. Your passion and your enthusiasm, that means pretty much nothing to them unless you've got the data to back it all up. They are deeply skeptical of any claim that can't be proven. Precision and accuracy, that's the only currency they accept. The game plan here is crystal clear. You must lead with hard data and evidence. Build your case piece by piece, methodically with facts that can be verified. On the flip side, stay away from vague stories, hype, or emotional appeals. With an analyst, that stuff won't just fail, it'll actually make them trust you less. So, we've broken down all 4 personas, but now it's time to put it all together. Because this isn't just about learning a few communication tricks for your next meeting. It's about using this understanding to build something much bigger, something that lasts. We're talking about building an architecture of trust. It's about going from tactics to a true partnership. And that brings us to this, a really powerful way to check your own mindset. I want you to just take a second and really think about this sentence. He or she is my blank. I am his or her blank. How do you fill in those blanks? Is it my boss and their subordinate? Or is it my partner and their trusted advisor? The words you choose, they define the entire relationship. And that leaves us with one last really important question. Forget everything else for a moment and just ask yourself this. If you had complete, total, absolute trust with your leadership, what would you do differently? What bold ideas would you bring up? What risks would you feel safe enough to take? Now, go start doing that. Because managing up isn't really about managing them at all. It's about becoming the kind of person that leaders instinctively know they can trust.